We'll have more analysis on this. Let's bring in NewsNation Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer and legal contributor Jesse Weber. Jesse, Jennifer, thank you both. Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, no surprises here. Kohberger now with this not guilty plea. I asked Bryan this question. I'll ask you the same. Did he seem different to you these months later? We're seeing him for the first time since January.
Physically, no. Maybe his hair was a bit longer. It wasn't the physicalness that was different. What was different was that he stood up and really refused to give a plea. And I found that to be unusual. I know it's his prerogative. I know it's his right. But I saw it as a sign of defiance, Nichole.
And Jesse, I want to talk to you about that. You're a lawyer. What are your thoughts on Kohberger not entering a plea today? Because that certainly was his choice to stay silent and not enter that plea.
So let's be clear, right? There's no legal difference, no legal impact that's going to be different between him pleading not guilty or basically standing silent and the not guilty plea being entered on his behalf. What I think this could be, though, is him opening himself to negotiations. Because right now, what he's saying is, I'm not telling you one way or another, guilty, not guilty. Maybe he is trying to open himself up to favorable negotiation plea. Because what we still don't know is if prosecutors are going to go forward with the death penalty. All the all the points seem to be headed toward that direction. This seems to be the kind of case. So if he wants to later say, hey, listen, I will agree to plead guilty if you take the death penalty off the table. If I hear him saying, I didn't even enter a not guilty plea, I'm not trying to fight this, I'm not having my attorney go on media or saying anything, even though she wouldn't be permitted to because of the gag order, by saying, you know, not one way or the other, we do not know where he stands, and maybe he doesn't want to jeopardize any kind of right he would have to a potential deal down the road if we get to that. Because while it seems like a short time between now and October when this trial date is set, it's also an eternity, and so much can happen between now and then.
Well, Jesse, I wanted to ask you about this later. I'll ask you now, though. It does seem like a long time in a way, and then in another way, as you said, it doesn't seem that long. October is not that far. Do you think the trial will actually start in October? There's so much evidence, so many things to dig through here.
Technically, it could. I don't think it will. I think it's going to get pushed back. There are so many things that we're trying to understand with this case, and what's difficult is there's a gag order. But clearly, when you're reading the tea leaves, the defense believes they have a case. They seem ready to go to trial. They wanted a 6-week trial. They're ready to go. And it seems to me that there are things that are happening behind the scenes with, we don't know all the evidence the prosecution has. That's one of the things why this was a secret grand jury indictment as opposed to a preliminary hearing. And when you have more evidence, when you have these kinds of issues, it was only 2 months back, I was talking to Brian Entin about this, there was that whole exculpatory evidence issue and whether or not one of the officers involved in this investigation did something improper. It creates the potential to delay the case. So I wouldn't be surprised in a high-profile case like this, we don't actually see this go to trial in October, but maybe push back maybe to 2024.
Yeah, we'll certainly see what happens here, Jesse. Jennifer, I'll kick it back to you now. NewsNation, the first to report Kohberger was being looked at for a burglary in the area involving a female colleague. What does that tell you about him as a suspected criminal?
Well, I think anytime you see minor crimes committed before a major crime, it shows that it was a progression leading up to actually possibly, again, if he's guilty, this horrific event. Typically, you don't go from A to Z. There's a lot of points in between. And so a burglary prior would explain a lot.
All right. And Jesse, would any of that be admissible in this case, in this trial?
Well, if I was a defense attorney, I would say none of it should come in, that it's highly prejudicial, that it's not relevant to the case at hand. But of course, we know that certain states have the ability to introduce evidence that on the face of it might not look relevant. But if it shows a pattern of behavior, it might come in. I think that if this is true and he actually did this, and by the way, he hasn't been found guilty of it, so it's not like it can become, you know, that the jury would necessarily need to know this. He's not being tried for that. I wonder if it'll actually make it relevant. I think for us, as we're trying to understand a little bit more about Bryan Kohberger and who he is and maybe why he allegedly did what he did, it's just more of interest. It's interesting for us to figure out. But in terms of it being used at an actual trial, I'm not entirely sure it's actually going to come into evidence.
All right. And Jennifer, one last question for you really quickly. We know the house at this point is boarded up. There have been a lot of back and forth about what will ultimately happen to it, whether it will be torn down, whether it will not. Do you think it's possible we could see jurors make a trip out to that house? At this point, boarded up certainly would have changed significantly from when the crimes occurred.
I think they should be able to go for both the defense and the prosecution reasons. I just think it's the fair thing to do. I think these jurors need to see how close the proximity of all these floors are, of the rooms. They need to get a feel for what the sound would be like there. I think it would be remiss not to let the jurors go in there.
Jennifer Coffindaffer, Jesse Weber, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.